Growing up, I seriously thought there was something wrong with me because I saw the world so differently than most people. I was really big picture and I could see a direct flight to the destination while most people were caught in the emotional moment and the problems that were occurring. It was like I had already landed at the desired destination and nothing was going to get in my way, almost to a fault. My focus was on efficiency, and I was so laser focused on the end goal. I wasn't focused as much on where I was or the people around me. And, that's not a great thing. Knowing where you're going is a great thing, but not being present once you know where you're going is not. And I also lacked confidence and courage. So, what I'm going to share with you today is some insight that can really help you on your journey to think more like a millionaire. And I want to give you an example before we dive in. So, I was in ninth grade literature, and we were reading this book about an Indian girl and her life. And every day the teacher would ask, "What do you think the author was thinking when she said this?" Now, I lived in South Dakota. So, as you may or may not know, a large population of our state is an Indian reservation. And so there's a lot of heritage there. So there was a lot of really good value to learn from. But the question about what the author was thinking every day was driving me crazy. And after a few weeks, I'm like, this is such a waste of time. I knew the author lived in Nebraska. So I got home and called directory assistance because that's what we did back then, found her phone number, and I called her, and she was delightful. And she shared with me what she was thinking. So the next day I got to class, and when the teacher asked, "What do you think she was thinking?" I raised my hand and shared. And this is such a valuable lesson from the experience. So the teacher said, "Well, how do you know that?" And I did not have the courage to share with her that I called the author because I knew the guys in my class would give me so much grief. And that feeling of lacking the confidence and courage to speak up in that moment bothered me for years. And I believe it gave me the confidence and courage to do a lot of hard things in my life. I began advising super wealthy clients in my 20s and 30s. And I believe that experience gave me the confidence, even when I was scared to do it. And because I didn't want to feel the way I had when I was afraid to speak up, it gave me insight that allowed me to speak up even when I was nervous. So if you need more confidence, insight, or wealth, you're going to love today's episode. So let's dive into how to think like a millionaire. Hi, my name is Annette, your host of the Wealth Inside and Out podcast. I'm a certified financial planner and founder of the Millionaire Insider. For over 30 years, I have been advising and researching the top 1% of millionaires, and I am passionately obsessed with money, mindset, and the intersection of self-worth and net worth, and how the two connect and allow us to live fulfilled and wealthy lives on our terms. I'm a Midwestern girl who had a dream, began investing $25 a month 35 years ago, and today have a multi-million-dollar net worth. I teach the tried and true that only someone with over 3 decades of experience advising millionaires would know. This podcast is different, about much more than money. We talk about mindset, success, money blocks, worth barometer, and all aspects of money and topics from practical manifestation, along with real-world how-to and everything in between, with the goal of making your journey easier and more fun. Think of this as coffee, actually matcha tea, learning real-world common sense money and life advice from a BFF that you can start applying today. If you want to create a financially free life you love, you are in the right place, my friend. This is the Wealth Inside and Out podcast. So today you're going to learn how to think like a millionaire, even if your goal is not to become a millionaire. Now, I hope it is, and I'll tell you why I hope it is. Number one, I think it's harder to be a non-millionaire in retirement than it is to be a millionaire. Unless you look forward to worrying about money, not having enough money, living in anxiety, it is not fun. I have seen both, and I've seen a lot of both. And I'm just telling you, millionaire is better. It gives you choices. And don't worry, it's not going to change you unless you already are a jerk. Meaning if you're a jerk and you become a millionaire, you're going to become more of a jerk. If you're a nice person and you become a millionaire, you're going to become more of a nice person. Now, number two, so you'll still have to do the work just on a different scale if you want to live fulfilled and wealthy. So just be aware of that. It is so worth it. And anyone who says that the other side of fulfilled, wealthy, healthy, weighing your ideal weight isn't better has never spent much time there, because I'm telling you, it is priceless and so worth the journey. So let's dive in. For today's show notes and resources, go to themillionaireinsider.com/28. All materials and intellectual property are copywritten by themillionaireseries.com. The information we provide is not intended to replace any advisor or specialist or to provide you any investment, financial, tax, retirement, or any planning or healthcare advice. All participants agree to hold millionaireseries.com and its affiliates harmless for results achieved or not achieved. So let's dive into how to think like a millionaire. So the first thing is they have courage and confidence, not in a narcissistic way or thinking they are better than anyone, but feeling confident in who they are, what they're thinking, and how they feel. Now, ideally, I recommend that you find someone you trust that you can bounce some of your crazy thoughts and ideas off of. Somebody that's going to be honest with you. For me, it's my husband, my kids, and some of my friends, meaning I can share things with them. They're not just going to agree with me. They're going to give me their thoughts. And sometimes, especially with my husband, I'm like, no, that's not the answer I wanted. But you got to have somebody that's got the confidence to be able to respond, because you want to be able to identify if what you're going to do is courageous or it's really crazy or what it is. And you're going to get different ideas as you start meandering out into the world of doing the unknown and trying crazy things, as any of us that are multimillionaires do and have done. Early in my career, my 20s and 30s, I started working with DECA millionaires who have a net worth of 10 million and centime millionaires who have a net worth of 100 million. And I was terrified, but I still did it. I approached them, I talked with them, I got their business. So you can do it scared. Now, over time, you're going to get better. And now I'm more confident and qualified to work with and advise wealthy people than I am poor or struggling people. Over the years, I now resonate much more with people who have an abundance mindset, and they either have or are moving toward a fulfilled and wealthy life. Now, I can do fine with people who don't yet have the money they desire if they've got the mindset and they're willing to take the ownership and responsibility to get it. I don't do well with people who have excuses for why they are where they are, and that those excuses are driving their life to keep them stuck. It's like, okay, well, then just keep doing it. You don't need to convince me of anything. You're going to be the one living your life, not me. So it's just interesting how you'll find as you go through your life that some people are so caught up in their problems and what's not working and why they are broke, poor, miserable, etc. And it's kind of like, okay, I believe you, I trust you. Just don't let that energy take over you, because it'll drive you crazy. And that's something we all have to learn on the journey. It's important to understand that most people are not born confident and courageous. And I will say, especially women. It's something we have to learn. So I want to give you another example of courage and confidence, because obviously early in my life, it's one thing, right? You're in your 20s, you really don't know what you're doing. Now that I'm in my 50s, it's a little different story. So at the end of last year, I went to a 3-day event, and I went to the event for one reason: to get my daughter to go, because I thought possibly hearing someone else talk about the fact that how we think about something determines our emotion and ultimately determines our results as compared to the situation. A lot of people think, oh, you'll never guess what happened to me. Well, it's not the event that happened to you. It's how you're thinking about the event. And it's been game changing for me. I mean, anyone that's got a background in psychology, it's kind of cognitive behavioral therapy. But the power of it is when you really get it, it really impacts your life. And I thought maybe if she heard it from someone else, she would get it. But she didn't show up. So here I am alone. There were about 2,000 women total, 1,000 were live. And I was just out of my comfort zone. I don't go to events alone unless I'm speaking on stage or I'm with a group. And so I'm more of an introvert. I don't really enjoy being in large groups. And I especially don't like being around people I don't know. Now, yeah, I can adapt. I can get along with people and I love learning about people, but it's just not how I'm fed. I enjoy being with my family, my close friends, and being in a small, intimate environment much more than I do a large group. So again, we're all different, but I just want to give you that backstory so you understand. But I was really impressed with the woman that was leading the event. And now she's much more rich and she is very into money, but she's much more rich than she is wealthy. So I was really dying to ask her a question because most of my research has been with wealthy people. And I have only worked with a few rich clients. And just in case you don't know the difference between rich and wealthy, you can go to themillionaireinsider.com/10. But rich is much more focused on income, wealthy is much more focused on the accumulation of wealth. So finally, on the third day of the event, I got the courage to ask a question. Now, this woman is a ball buster, and I rarely get nervous talking to people or asking questions, but here we're in a really large audience, and I didn't know where she was going to go with my question. I mean, she puts stuff right back at you. And so just to give you an idea, I wasn't like perspiring. I could feel sweat rolling down my arms on my sides. I was like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. And the only reason I even know what I said is because one of my friends taped me. I met some people who are now to this day my friends. But it was funny because I don't even really remember. I remember what I said initially, but then I didn't really remember anything because she and I got into a dialogue. Well, what was so funny about it was I asked the question because I'm courageous even when I am nervous. And not speaking up leaves us with regret. And I don't ever want to feel like how I felt when I was in the ninth grade. And this is critical for anyone listening. And my question that I was going to ask her wasn't about me. It was about the women I want to help. And as you may know, my goal, I want to reach 10 million women and impact their lives financially, help them live fulfilled and wealthy lives so they can secure a financial future and retirement they love. And so I knew getting her perspective would just be huge. Now, on a side note, interestingly enough, just by asking that question, I had over 75 women come up to me and give me their contact information after I asked that. And some of them, like probably like 6 to 8, said, how did you ask that without being nervous? I'm like, I wasn't nervous. I was terrified. And they're like, really? You didn't seem it. But see, this is the thing. I could tell I was nervous because when I get nervous, my mouth was dry and I could tell some of just watching me, I knew I was a little bit nervous. But what was so funny is the fact that no one that asked me that thought I was nervous. And so as you get more and more comfortable being courageous and confident, you're going to have less outward characteristics of being nervous. And that's one thing that I see a lot in millionaires, how they think, what they do. Even if they do feel a little nervous or apprehensive, they still move forward. They have the confidence in themselves to be who they are and to speak up. Now, what she said to me was a game changer. And it's kind of interesting because initially I thought, well, that's really not a big deal, but it really was. My question was, how do I best help women? I've spent 35 years advising the upper echelon of millionaires, mostly men who are married to women, but mostly men, and 40 years researching them. And my question was, at what level do I teach them? Because, I see life and money and a fulfilled life at such a 10,000-foot view that I was thinking I needed to go down to their level. And she's like, no, 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 no. You got to teach people not where they are, but you got to teach them where they need to go, how they need to think. Boy, if that didn't change everything. If you learn how to think like a millionaire, you're going to dramatically increase your odds of success. Now, I can't guarantee that you're going to be a millionaire. That's illegal. It's against the law. But what I can say is by taking certain actions, you will dramatically increase your odds. And one of them is gaining confidence and courage. All right. Number 2, they know where they're going. They know their desired destination. To start thinking like a millionaire, you've got to know and see your flight plan. Where are you right now and where are you going? Where do you want to end up? Most people live day to day, every day in and day out. They kind of just do their thing. Now, living in the moment is wonderful and so important, something I didn't do when I was younger, if you know where you're going. But when you live day to day with no idea of the destination, it's what I call destination unknown. And it's going to be either really good or really bad. Now, most people would never go to, like, say, Vegas and just play Russian roulette with all their money, right? But without a flight plan and a clear destination, basically these people are playing Russian roulette with their future and retirement. And it is terrifying. Living in the moment is more common with rich people, which have higher incomes and lower net worths because they are so driven by dopamine hits. Think of it. You have a cup of coffee, you have sex, you have your favorite food, you go and drink alcohol. All of those are dopamine hits, and we all get them in different ways. Rich people are much more driven by their primal limbic brain, that toddler child brain, as compared to wealthy people who are more focused in and comfortable with dopamine drips. I mean, we don't need to be getting those hits from earning a lot of money or getting the attention or wearing the cutest outfit to feel good and to have a healthy self-esteem. We're more focused on wealth accumulation and have high net worths and often lower incomes. Most people have no idea the difference between rich and wealthy. And again, rich is all about looking like you have money, spending like you have money, but really they have high incomes and debt. Wealthy doesn't appear like they have money and they don't spend like they do, but they have assets and little or no debt. Again, you can go to themillionaireinsider.com/10 to read about rich and wealthy. Well, you need to determine what your financial future and retirement look like. In 40 years of researching this, I believe the ultimate goal is to live a fulfilled life, whether it's with or without money. Now, I would argue that living a fulfilled life without enough money is pure HE double toothpicks. But you've got to decide if being stressed about money, wondering if you have enough money, never being able to say yes to what you want to do, always penny pinching is your thing. Because you're going to be living it in retirement and you're going to be living it for years. So you got to be really clear on that. But once you identify where you want to end up in your life and specifically in your retirement, then you got to identify the feeling you believe you're going to have when you get there. So for example, if peace of mind is the goal when you are living a secure retirement you love, I want you to focus in on that emotion, meaning I want you to get really clear and embody how you feel when you're experiencing peace of mind now, even if you haven't achieved that goal. That's absolutely critical. And then it's also critical that you don't let your daily emotions keep you from doing what you need to do to achieve your goal. And I'll give you an example. Today, it's Saturday. I did not feel like recording my podcast. But this week has just been absolutely so busy in my advisory business that I didn't get my podcast episodes. We batch. I didn't get them all done. And my goal is to help 10 million women and their partners secure a financial future and retirement they love. I know that when I achieve that, I'm going to feel even more fulfilled, more grateful, a lot of gratitude, a lot of positive emotions because I've given back, and that's my way of really taking responsibility for all the success I've had. Because as you know, I believe that with great success comes great responsibility. Now, for me to do that, it requires that I blog and podcast consistently, regardless of how I'm feeling in the moment. I'm heading to the Carolinas in a few weeks to spend time with one of my best friends and her husband, who I went to high school with. Me and my husband are. So I've got to be ahead of what I need to do. So although I didn't feel like it, here I am. And that's what I'm hoping you will continue to work towards mastering. It takes 18 to 254 days to change a habit, on average 66 days, so about 2 months. So just commit. It does get easier. Three, they understand that failure is a road stop on the journey to success, not a roadblock. It's only a roadblock if you make it one. They don't. And the real secret is not to give up. Once I realized in high school what a millionaire was and the life they led, meaning they could do what they wanted to do, that was my goal. And I thought it was literally the only thing that was missing from my miserable life. I absolutely hated my life when I was younger. And I look back on it and I thought, this just is what gave me hope. And then in college, I realized I wanted a career where I could help people and also make unlimited upside base as far as revenue based on my efforts. And that's how I became a financial planner. But one of the things that's so interesting is that obviously just having money is not the key. A fulfilled life is. So just don't lose sight of that. Once I decided I wanted to be a financial planner, I got out the phone book and I started calling every financial planning firm, starting with the A's. And I finally got to Beckwood Financial, and they agreed to let me work for them for free just to get experience. Now, I had people hang up on me. I had others laugh at me. I had people tell me that there's no way anyone would hire a college student without any experience. What was so funny is I was just so clear on my goal. I didn't care if I got through the Z's and I had to go through the A's through Z's again. I was going to find an opportunity to get some experience. And I just think like how fascinating that somebody would not see that as being like, I want this person in my firm. They're going to add value. It's just fascinating to me. But at the time I was in Arizona without air conditioning in my car. And I had to drive 45 minutes each way, and it was not fun. I would have to take a change of clothes and deodorant and then change once I got to my job. But after the first day, they were very impressed and they agreed to pay me $5 an hour. I would have worked for free for the experience. That's how I saw it. And nothing, no road stop was going to become a roadblock on my journey. And that's where I want you to get. The only person that gets to decide if it's a road stop or a roadblock is you. So don't let a road stop become a roadblock. Before we dive into number 4, I want you to understand the importance of upside in your revenue. And I understand that it's not super easy and it doesn't happen overnight. But what I will say is, I personally believe a time for money model is one of the hardest things you can get into. Now, early on in your life, you're going to have to do it. But working when you get paid, meaning the only time you get paid, you're at work, is rarely a great long-term solution. Upon graduating with a BS in finance from ASU and an emphasis in psychology, I had a variety of job offers. Now, this was in the 80s, and I was getting offers as like 60 to 80,000. So great offers, but I didn't want to have a time for money model. So I attended this job fair, and one of the largest financial firms hired me. And the agreement was that after 6 months of their new org training, I could be my own agent. I would have no guaranteed base, but an unlimited upside in my income. And I was ecstatic. The manager, fast forward 6 months, he said, we got to talk. And you know that feeling get in your stomach when you're like, something's not right. And he said, Annette, you're young, you're attractive, and you're female. You don't have what it takes. You will never make it. But you're smart and driven, so you get to work with literally the only other minority in the office who happened to be an African-American man. And the only issue with him was that he had a lower opinion of women and actually told me the only women making it in the financial services were sleeping with their clients. I mean, and I was so naive. I was like 24. And the crazy part about it, what still frustrates me to this day, is that I actually believed him. I'm like, oh, that's why there's so few women in the financial services. But literally, I left and I was so angry for about, 3 or 4 years. And I just spent so much of my energy contemplating my response to them once I was successful. At the time, I had no idea of the worth barometer. If you're not familiar with the worth barometer, you can go to themillionaireinsider.com/3. But the worth barometer is basically a combination of your belief and self-esteem. At the time, I didn't know about it. I was still doing research. I was still learning how some people are successful and others aren't, but I didn't have that dialed in. I did have one day where it was literally like divine intervention, where I'm like, this is crazy. I am spending so much time and energy on these two people that are like trying to destroy my career. They weren't even in my life at that point. And it was just so much negative energy. And I said, I may never be a millionaire or a top producer, but what I do know is if I start focusing in on serving my clients and doing my best, I'm going to be further ahead than if I don't. Well, fast forward about 4 years later, my first major deal generated just under $1 million. That manager told me, you don't have what it takes, you'll never make it, had been trying to acquire that client for over a decade. The African American man I was working for temporarily, at the time, he was really attractive and he was in shape. I ran into him at a conference and boy, I didn't have to do anything. God blessed him with about another 200 or 300 pounds of weight. I just like, oh my gosh, it was terrible. But the point being in all of this, my friends, is don't let road stops deter you or become a roadblock. Had I let this situation derail me, I would not be living a fulfilled and wealthy life today. So I really hope that insight helps you. Right, number 4, they understand the difference between income and wealth. So in high school, as I mentioned, I realized my problem was that my family and I didn't have money. I knew that once we had it, everything would be perfect. I mean, clearly not true. But I will say living fulfilled, wealthy, and weighing my ideal weight is priceless. So much better than broke or weighing more than you desire. Now, shortly after graduating from college, as I shared, I thought I just wanted to become rich, and that's income. But fortunately, the millionaires I worked with, specifically a centimillionaire, said that is the worst goal you can have. The goal isn't earning money, it's accumulating wealth. And that means assets, less liabilities. So important. Now, it's critical that you get the difference between income and wealth. And I clearly didn't. What I want you to start doing is just paying attention because everything out there, all the awards in every company is really about how much you make. And in my opinion, that's why so many people are broke. Everyone's focused on earning more. And then they get into the lifestyle creep where they're earning more and they're spending more. And it's just kind of like this loop of you earn more, you spend more, you earn more, you spend more, and you never have any money to accumulate because your focus is on the wrong star. Don't let that be you. Society basically rewards people who are making more money and people who look like they have money. I was a top producer for 22 years. And of those 22 years, 2 of them, I was number 1 in the world. Like one year, I think I was number 1 year, number 3, but high up there. And when you're number 1 in the world, it's crazy. You get flown over to Europe, get all these gifts. I mean, crazy things. Everyone's telling you how smart you are. It is like the biggest high you could have. But when I achieved my crazy net worth goal in 2021, which was literally like 18.9 times greater than my top income year, no one sent me gifts. No one told me how smart I was because, see, the issue is our society does not reward the accumulation of wealth as much as it rewards the earning of money. So you got to be really clear of that because earning money is much more of a dopamine hit, whereas the accumulation of wealth is much more of a dopamine drip. And it requires mastery of your inner game if you want to win the money game versus an outer game of dopamine hits of earning money. So critical that you get that. And it's not easy because when no one else is out there cheering you on, you got to cheer yourself on. Your accolades, your worth have to come from within. And then what happens is you can focus on the accumulation of wealth and generating income from your assets. This is passive or residual income, and it is so important. And it is just such a game changer. That's when you're able to retire. You don't have to work, and it is just priceless. So there you have 4 insights on how to think like a millionaire. So let's review them. Number 1, they have courage and confidence. And you, my friend, can too. We are not born with it. We develop it. They know where they're going. They are headed to their desired destination versus no destination. They understand that failure is a road stop on the journey to success, not a roadblock. It only becomes a roadblock if we allow it to. and they don't give up. Now, this is really important. Sometimes you're going to have to meander. You can't stay on the same course because you might be in collision with another jet. That's okay. That's different. Changing courses or testing different things to see the results you're getting is just smart. That's different than giving up. Giving up is where you say, I just can't do it. And you go get a job flipping burgers at McDonald's, or you become a hostess or something like that. That's what I'm talking about. And then 4, they understand the difference between income and wealth, and their focus is on the accumulation of wealth so that they can create residual and passive income and live on that as compared to earned income. Oh, so good. I want to thank you so much for joining me on How to Think Like a Millionaire. So what I want you to do is go and start taking a couple nuggets you got here and just start applying them. You're going to be so glad you did. If you love the content of this podcast, please follow and subscribe to our channel so you get notified of episodes, and also give us a 5-star review and share a comment. We really appreciate it. Congratulations on taking another step to create a financially free life you love. If you're not sure about your financial future or that it's in order, or you are ready to stop worrying about money, or possibly the fear of becoming a bag lady, ending up broke in retirement, or you simply are ready to know your financial house is in order so that you can have a bright financial future, please go to themillionaireinsider.com/NSF. And that doesn't stand for non-sufficient funds. It stands for Next Step Finance. It's the next best step of what you need to do so you can avoid an NSF notice in your future. Again, themillionaireinsider.com/NSF. The number of women who were not broke or poor while working or married is staggering. The entire mission of the Wealth Inside and Out podcast is to ensure you have the information for you, your family, your friends, anyone who's willing to listen to it and apply it so that you can create a financially free life you love. Again, themillionaireinsider.com/NSF. Until our next episode, take one action that will help you create a financially free life you love. I'm Annette, your host. All international copyrights are reserved. Bye for now.